like to introduce our next speaker, who is Linny Mvekara Johnson. He's a Bangor alumni, he's an artist, a mentor to so many people in encouraging them to move forward together. His work now appears, he's worked for the National Library, he's had an exhibition in Storia here in Bangor, he has pieces all around and has worked all around Wales, and his experiences cover work in different African countries and different European countries as well. And so it is a pleasure now to introduce Jean-Samuel. Sam, thank you.
Dr. Maya, thank you very much for that generous introduction. I'm very pleased with the Race Council of Wales for bringing us together. It's very wonderful. And Umu, thank you very much for your elaborate talk. I identified very much in all the things you were saying, and Cisse, and also Colin. Thank you very much. You said a huge portion of what I would have loved to say. Permit me to begin by sharing this quote. It may well be in this generation that we may have to repent, not merely for the barbaric words or the violent actions of the bad people, but also for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, "Wait on time." Human progress does not rule on the wheels of inevitability. It comes from the tireless efforts and persistent work of dedicated individuals like you and me. And without such hard work, time itself can be an ally to the primitive forces of social stagnation. We must help time, for the time is always right to do right. My dear friends, a few years ago, in 2020, before then I had not known of this word Black Lives Matter, but the world saw something very, very abhorrent. The killing of George Floyd. I'll never forget that scene. And everyone in the world, in quotes, we rose up in solidarity. Even the racists, somehow, some of them changed, because that is not what they expected for the 21st century. And when I was doing my research, I realized that those kind of things have been happening, but just that what happened at the age of social media and information technology. And that is how we are able to see. Those kind of scenes have been in different places. And even the word Black Lives Matter was already there around 2012, 2013, when a young guy in America called Trevor was also mercilessly killed. A young man of around 18 years, he was killed by an elderly policeman who was supposed to protect this boy, but killed him unarmed just because they thought he was selling fake cigarettes. We're here today to contribute our own voices, because we know that when there is something to say, when you are quiet, that's a lie. You're living a lie. And social justice will not happen just because you and me, we hope and we expect that this should happen. We have to be actors in the field. It is not enough to wish well. It is not enough to be anti-racist. It is not enough to look for equality or to seek diversity. But you have to go forward beyond that to make sure that you contribute your own voice wherever you are. I'm so happy to be part of this country today. Like Dr. Mariam said, we have the Anti-Racist Welsh Action Plan. It's a wonderful draft from a good government that reminds us that hopefully by the year 2030, this country of Wales where we now live will become anti-racist, 0%. Well, that sounds good on paper, and we're looking forward to it. But legislation cannot change the hearts of people, even though it can restrain the hearts of the heartless. It is you and me to change our hearts, and to help other people to change their own hearts. Government will not be there in the afternoon when you are drinking in that bar with your friends, and when someone thinks that hate can be propagated. At that point, we need your voice. Government will not be there in the evening when you are at home with your family, and a child of yours seems to miss it out, forgets that everybody who lives in this country, even though they do not look like some of them, still belong to them, and they are part of the entire human race. It is our responsibility to educate. I know that racism is born of ignorance. Education is the key. And this can only win when we take the responsibility as one people heading towards a shared destiny, It is either us in the future or nobody arrives a better future. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. What affects one directly affects the others indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you're what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I'm what I ought to be." Before Dr. King, there was a guy called Don John. He even said it in more graphic terms. He said, "No one is an island entire of itself. Anyone is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. Anyone's death diminishes me because I'm involved in mankind. Therefore, don't seek to send for whom the bell calls, it calls for thee." The bell is ringing for you to stand up and to defend your brothers and your sisters, to understand that your humanity transcends beyond you. If anyone's death, anyone's problems, difficulties, and pain, and ill health diminishes you, then conversely, anyone's progress, life, happiness, and joy flourishes and nourishes you. It is therefore your responsibility to be your brother's keeper. This journey is a journey of us together as one people, as the human race, not the black race, not the white race, not the blue or green or yellow, but the human race. Sometimes we forget. We pay so much attention to the content and not the content. Inside, we're all the same. And when something bad happens to one human soul, the whole human consciousness bleeds. So it is our responsibility to take care of each other. We are living in a world now where we have a prime minister who looks like some of us, but hopefully understands all of us. He's now shouldering the responsibility of leading our nation, hopefully towards a better place. He has a daunting task, the arduous responsibility, to lead a government that hopefully reflects the people it hurts, or a parliament that hopefully resembles those that it actually represents. We hope he's going to succeed. Just the day he gave his acceptance speech, I was surprised to see something on social media. Some people already stood up and they were like, sorry to say, this guy said, "This is the worst thing that has happened to Wales since a certain invasion that happened in 1797. I don't know the invasion." And I was like, wow, just now. But thankfully, those are not the voices that represent the vast majority of this community. I know that the Welsh are good people. I know it because I've lived it, first-class experience. I'm here now for 10 years. I came here to study and go back. But because of your love, your care, your smiles, wow, I felt like to stay, so I'll be here again for a bit longer. I'm in love with the people, but also with your mountains, with your slopes, with your slates, with your seas, with your castles. Because I'm an artist, I'm a painter. I draw. But now, I can also share my stories I'm doing here today. My dear friends, it is our responsibility to make sure that our government should succeed. In one winter afternoon, that was on the 20th of January, 1961, then the youngest president of America, John F. Kennedy, he said something which I want to say here. He said, "Ask not what your country will do for you. Ask what you will do for your country," in his inauguration speech. That word is relevant in this age and in any other age. Even though he talked to millions of Americans and beyond that, to millions of citizens around the world, we should learn to ask, what are we doing for our country? What are we doing for our community, for our society, for our families? When you take responsibility for the country you want to see, when you become the change you want to meet in the world, that's the surest way of believing that, or actually realizing that what you're standing for is actually going to happen. We know all the wonderful things that we want for the world, but we feel it is someone else's responsibility. Take responsibility, take charge, and take ownership. Never feel that you are too small to create a change. You are not. All the great movements in life of thought and word and action were begun by single human beings like you and me. 2 hands, 2 legs, 1 mind. So when you believe in something, stand up for it and speak up the truth. And evil shall triumph when good people sit and do nothing. Napoleon Bonaparte once said that it is not the violence of the bad people that will destroy the world. It is the silence of the good people who look at evil and do nothing. The battle has been handed to us in this generation. Sometimes we take it for granted. All the good things we enjoy in this country, our democracy, our freedom and everything, those things were brought for us by people who lost their lives, others their limbs. And it is our responsibility to know that those great things are always one generation away from extinction. They will not just flourish and be nourished without our own consent or our own contributions. So the baton is in our hands, and we must make sure that we hand this baton of freedom and liberty to the next generation unchanged. May we live as if we are borrowing the better future for our children, not as if we inherited it from the past, and make sure that all these wonderful values, liberty, democracy, freedom, equality, justice for all, should long endure. Kennedy ended by saying that the energy, the faith, and the devotion which we put to this endeavor will surely light our country and those who serve it. And the glow from that fire will surely light the world. With His to be the final judge of all deeds, with a good conscience, our only sure reward, let's go forth to lead the land we love, asking for His help and His blessings, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must surely be ours. Thank you.